Hi friends. So in this video, we'll be talking about Oracle Cloud Infrastructure VCN. So VCN stands for Virtual Cloud Network. So it's a private network, or we can say it's a virtual network which resides in our Oracle data centers within OCI. So like traditional network in which we have to procure the physical hardwares, but with VCN, so we don't have to procure any physical hardware, so it's all virtual. So you can follow this documentation to know more about what is a VCN and what are its components. So we have VCN, subnet, VNix, and other type of components for the VCN. So I've also written one blog for this particular VCN so that you can follow and know more about the VCN in brief way. So this is a one diagram for given VCN. So here we can see that so this particular VCN is under one OCI region. So VCN can span across multiple availability domain, just like this particular VCN. And these are the other components of the VCN. So here we can see the definition of the VCN. So it's basically your private network inside the OCI. So which works a similar way like our traditional network works. So only differentiates it's a virtual network as the name suggests. So we can imagine VCN just like we are building, we have bought one land and now we are building a private society. So within the society, so what we can do, we can create roads, we can create security gates. We have various blocks like A block, B block, C block. In that blocks, so we place the houses, we build the houses, and we can also have the visitor entry rules, like whom we need to allow the entrance or not. So this is a comparison between our society and the VCN or our cloud, Oracle Cloud. So society can be taken as a VCN, roads can be taken as a route table, which is a component in our VCN. Security guards, so these are our security lists and network security groups. Houses, so these are our compute resources and other type of resources that we place within the VCN. And we have various blocks like A block, B block. So those are nothing but we can thought those of just like our subnets. And then we have main entrance gate, so it can be internet gateway. So gateways are the entrance to our VCN, and we have private internal roads, so those are like private subnets. So this is how our VCN works in a real way. So these are the main components of the VCN. So first we have the CIDR block. So what is CIDR block? So CIDR block is nothing but it's a address range for your network. So we have to provide the range of our network so that it can contain multiple IP addresses which we can assign to our resources. So this is an example of a one VCN which has this particular CIDR block, which is 10.0.0.0/16. So now this is a one notation, CIDR notation. So it has these many IP addresses. So if you have one CIDR block and you want to know what are all IP addresses contained in that, so you can use this particular website, so which will help you to convert your CIDR block to IP ranges. So let's use this one. So for example, this one, so we have our CIDR notation of 10.0.0.0/16. So here we give our CIDR notation and we hit this button calculate. And here we can see that we got the IP ranges. So this is the first IP address, which is 10.0.0.0. and the last IP address would be 10.0.255.255. So total number of IP addresses that we have is 65536. So like that way, you can use this particular website to convert a given CIDR notation to range of IP addresses. So this is our VCN, which is a big network. So now within VCN, so what we can have is we can have various subnetworks, as the name suggests, subnets. So subnet is nothing but it's a portion, it's a sub network of a given VCN. Okay, so we can see this is subnet. So inside the VCN, so we create smaller section called subnets, and there are two types of subnets. So one is the public subnet, and second one is the private subnet. So public subnet provides access to internet directly. For example, we can have our web servers and we can have public APIs placed in subnet, which is of type public. So it provides the access of internet. And also we have private subnet, so which in which we place the resources and those resources cannot access the internet. So what type of resources we put in private subnet? So we put like databases or various internal applications. So that's important for our security so that we restrict the outside internet to reaching to those resources. So this is our VCN, which is 10.0.0/16. So these are the list of IP addresses that we have. So these are the total IP addresses within that particular VCN. So now within this big network, so what we can have various other subnetworks, so which can have the notation of /24. So for example, here we can see that we have one public subnet which starts with this particular CIDR block, which is 10.0.1.0/24. So now you can again use the same website and you can see like how many IP addresses are available. So total we have 256 IP addresses within this CIDR block. And we can also have application subnet, we can have DB subnet. So these are the subnets that we can use. So for example, for this particular CIDR range, so we can see that this is the first IP address and this is the last IP address. And total IP addresses that we can have is 256. So like that, you can use this particular website to calculate all the IP ranges. So this is how we have the component of a subnet. So it can be either public or the private subnet. So the next component that we have in our VCN, it's a internet gateway. So as the name suggests, gateway is the entrance for the traffic. So internet gateway allows resources inside the VCN to communicate with the internet. And so without internet, so what we can have like servers cannot download the packages, user cannot open the websites hosted on the server. So internet gateway is like a main entrance to the outside world. You can think just like that. So it's the entrance to the outside world. So we have various connections. So we have egress connection, we have ingress. Egress is like connections originating from the VCN, and ingress is like a connection which are incoming to the VCN. So then we have another component known as route tables. So route table tells like where the internet traffic will go. So for example, if we have this particular CIDR block, so this CIDR block is for the entire all the IP ranges as we can see in here. So if we put here and we calculate, so this is basically, this will not give you the list of all the IP ranges because it's a very big network. So it covers the entire internet. So it covers all the IP addresses. So if we have given like this kind of rule, which means that all the IP addresses will go to internet gateway. So this is how the route table will have. It has the rules, so which tells like to where we need to send out the traffic within the VCN. So it's just like if we take the analogy to our society example, so here we can see that so route tables are the routes basically, which tells like where to route the traffic. So the next component that we have is the security list. So security list, it acts as a virtual firewall for our resources. So it can be compute resource or it can be other resource. So again, it has various ingress and egress rules. And these rules, these security rules applies to all the VNets that we associate. So for example, if we create one security list, so wherever we use that security list, so the rules will be applicable. So basically security list controls like which traffic is allowed, which ports are open, and which IP addresses can connect. For example, these are the various ports. So port 22 is for SSH, it is for HTTP, 443 is for HTTPS. And for example, if port 22 is blocked, so SSH connection will fail basically. So these are the security guards checking who can enter. So it acts as a security guard for your VCN. So next component that we have is a network security groups. It works similar to the security list, but the only difference is that it contains the rules that apply only to a set of VNICs. So we define the rules and which are applicable to a given set of VNICs. So security list is applied at the subnet level, but the network security group is applied at the instance level. Next component that we have is a dynamic routing gateway. So right now we have seen that we can connect to the internet using internet gateway. So this is the gateway which helps the resources to communicate with the internet. So in case we have our own on-prem network, so in that case, what we can use the dynamic routing gateway. So dynamic routing gateway act as a virtual router, which provides a path for traffic between your on-prem network and the VCN. And you can also communicate with the other VCNs also. So basically, this provides the connection, the network to on-prem data centers, other cloud networks, or the VPNs. So it acts as like a highway to your colony and a city. Next component that we have is the NAT gateway. So it provides a gateway, gives the cloud resources which are not having public IP addresses to access the internet without exposing those resources to incoming internet connection. So for example, we place few resources, we place servers in private subnet, and now we know that in private subnet, so they cannot access the internet. But sometimes they need to download the OS patches, they need to use download the OS updates or other packages. So in that case, so NAT gateways allows the outgoing internet access and at the same time without allowing the incoming internet traffic. So which improves the security. So NAT gateways provide only one-way traffic, so which is originating from your resources and no incoming connections would be allowed. Another gateway that we have is a service gateway. So this particular gateway provides the resources access to the Oracle services. So what are those services? Those services can be like object storage or maybe internet or sorry, the autonomous database. And that is at the same time, it's again without using the public internet. So without internet, it provides the access to OCI services within the VCN. So now we have known all these uh, components of the VCN. And within a VCN, so we have various gateway limits. So these are the limits that you can refer. So for a given region, for a given VCN, so how many internet gateways we can have, like here you can see the limits for that. So these are the other documentation that you can refer. So it provides like a overview of VCN and subnets and how to create a VCN basically, and other scenarios that you can refer. So here provides the overview of VCN and subnet. So here you can see subnet is nothing but a subdivision of the VCN. And this is the one diagram. So which is showing that we have one VCN within one region, and we have four type of subnets. So we have subnet 1, which is spanning across one AD, AD1, availability domain 1. So this is another subnet, and this one is another subnet in AD3. And this particular subnet, subnet 4, it spans across all three ADs, AD1, AD2, and AD3. So within each subnet, so we have other components. So these are route tables and security lists. So here we can see this is the uh, representation of our VCN. And these are the VCN and subnet limits. All right. So now let's see how to create a VCN. So for that, you have to log in to your Oracle Cloud Infra console. So this is OCI console. So we have logged in using our admin user, which has access to all the resources. So admin can manage all the resources. So for that, you can, for creation of your VCN, you can create separate compartments. So as we know that compartments are the like, these are the folders, so in which we put our resources. So it's better to place a related resources in a different compartment. So we can go to navigation menu, and then we go to identity and security. In that we have compartments. By default, when you create your OCI tenancy, it comes with the root compartment, and the name of that compartment is similar to your tenancy name. So what you can do, you can create another compartment. So for that, you go to this particular screen and click on create compartment. And here you can give the name of the new compartment. So let's name it as network com. So this is the compartment. So for placing the network resources. So just give a name and click on create compartment. So it should be without space, network comp. So as we know that it will take some time to create, so you can go to other sections and again come back to that to see the refreshed list. So here we can see that network comp. So this one is now created. So the parent compartment is the root compartment. So within the root compartment, so now we have created one child compartment called network com. So now within this network com, we can again create the child compartment. So using this particular option, create compartment, so which will create the child compartment within this network com. So now that we have created this compartment, so next step is to create the VCN. For that, we will go to navigation menu, and then we go to networking. In that we go to virtual cloud networks, which is the screen for creation of the VCN. So here we can see that right now we are in this compartment, which is a root compartment. So we will change the compartment to network compartment, so that the new VCN that we will create will be placed in network compartment. So then we will click on create VCN. So when we go and click on this create VCN, so this will create the VCN. But OCI provides also a wizard option, which will help us to create the VCN in a automatic fashion. So here you can go to actions, and here you can select start VCN wizard. So here you can see that. So this is a wizard which will help us to create the VCN. So here you can see that there are two type of connection that we can create. So the first one is a create VCN with internet connectivity, and another one is create internet connectivity and site-to-site VPN to a VCN. So this is a diagram for that particular VCN that will be created. So here we can see that this is one VCN, in that we have two subnets, and here we can see that one is the public subnet, another one is the private subnet. With public subnet, so we can see that we have one gateway, which is IG, which stands for Internet Gateway. And here we can see it's a bi-directional traffic, so that incoming and outgoing traffic can be routed to this Internet Gateway, so which helps to connect to Internet. So this is the public subnet. Next, we have the private subnet. So here we can use two types of gateway. So one is the NAT gateway. So in NAT gateway, it provides a unidirectional traffic, which is only originating from the VCN, like a database can download the packages from the internet, OS packages like that. So it's a one-way traffic. Another gateway we have is service gateway. So it provides connectivity to our Oracle service network without going to the internet. So it's within the OCI network only. All right, so we will be using this particular connection type, which is Create VCN with internet connectivity. Select this option and click on Start VCN Wizard. So here we can see that these are the resources that will be created. So it will create the VCN, it will create the public subnet, it will create the private subnet, it will create one internet gateway, one NAT gateway, and one service gateway. So here we have to give the name of our VCN. So let's give a name, test VCN 1. So we are giving this particular name. And here we have to give the CIDR notation of our VCN, which is 10.0.0.0/16. So if you want, you can also enable the IPv6 for this particular VCN using this checkbox. So for now, let's go for IPv4 only. And here the next is a public subnet and the private subnet. So it automatically selected these public and the private subnets. So here we have one subnet, which is 10.0.0.0/24. Another one is 10.0.1.0/24. So if you want, you can change the subnet CIDR also. So for example, you can give this as 1. And also one more thing. So IP, because side notations are basically the range of IP addresses. So also we need to make sure that these should not overlap with each other. So right now here also we have given the same CIDR. So which means that we are creating a overlap. So we should not do that. So let's change this one to this particular notation. So here we can see if we go to this particular thing, it will take some time. Let's wait for that. All right, so here we can see that this is the first IP address, this is the last IP address. So total IP addresses are 256. So like that, we have given the size of our public subnet and the private subnet. If you want, you can give the tags. So for now, we can leave that. Tags are just like it's a free form tags that you assign it to various resources. So in this wizard, we give the name of the VCN. We choose the CIDR block. We give the CIDR block for public subnet. We give the CIDR block for the private subnet and click on next. So this is the review section. You can review it. So these are automatically, it will create the security list. It will automatically create the route table. So this is the private subnet. So this will be the name. This will be the name of the public subnet. So these are the gateways that will be created. So the types are internet gateway, NAT gateway, and service gateway. So these are the security lists. So two security lists will be created. One is the default one. Second one is for the private subnet. This is the default route table, and this is for the private subnet. All right, so after going through all that, so here you can also see the rules. So for this particular security list, we can see these are the rules. So ingress mean incoming rule. So here we can see that it is allowing the traffic from for port 22 from all the IP addresses. So this one is for ICMP. So these are the three ingress rule, and this one is the egress outgoing rule for this particular security list. So we can see that these are the rules. So here we are allowing the traffic for port 22 only from these IP addresses ranges. So again, we can see it's a CIDR block, so it converts it. It basically converts to IP addresses. So again, we have the route table. So this one is the default route table. So here we can see it's routing all the IP ranges to internet gateway, which is allowing the traffic from the internet and to the internet. And here we can see the route table for private subnet, which is only one-way traffic. NAT gateway provides one-way traffic, and this one is for the service gateway. It provides the traffic from all the identity IAD. IAD is our region key, which is the Ashburn regions, all the Ashburn region services in Oracle Service Network. So here you can see the current selector region is Ashburn, and this is the key for the Ashburn IAD. So it is allowing the traffic from that, which is using service gateway. So after reviewing all these things, you click on create. All right, so we can see that it is 100% done. So which means our VCN is created. So we can click on view VCN. So here we can see the name of VCN is test VCN1. This is the CIDR block of our VCN. This is the OCID, Oracle Cloud Identifier. For this particular VCN, this is the route table which is attached. And here, if you go to subnets, so these are the two subnets that we have. We have one private subnet, we have one public subnet. If we go to the public subnet, and here we can see the CIDR block of public subnet, this one in a public subnet. So we can see that this is the public subnet for our given VCN. This is the IPv4 CIDR block. So here we can see the subnet type. Subnet access is public subnet. And this is the default route table, which is attached to this particular subnet. And if we click on this one, so we can see that we have various route rules. So here we can see that all the traffic traveling through this internet gateway. Right, so this is automatically by default when we go through wizard option. So it automatically creates all these rules. All right, so these are the two subnets. So for the public subnet, so we can see that this is the route table. If we go to the security, we can see that this is the security list, which is attached to our public subnet. So you can click on this one to see the rules, the security rules. So this is the default security list, the name of the list, security list, which is attached to our public subnet. And these are the security rules. So we have these ingress rules, which means incoming traffic rules. So it is allowing the traffic on port number 22 from all the IP ranges. So this is the protocol is TCP. This is ICMP, again ICMP. And this one is for the egress rule, the outgoing rules. So we are allowing the traffic to go to the internet from all the ports. The destination is again all the IP ranges, because each resource will have its own IP address. Like we create our virtual machine or compute resource, so it will be having the particular IP address. So that's reason we are allowing all the IP addresses using this particular CIDR notation. All right, so now we can use this VCN to create the other resources. So you can see which all various gateways that we have used. We have internet gateway. So this is the name of the internet gateway. We also created automatically, it automatically creates a NAT gateway. This is the name of NAT gateway. And this is the name of the service gateway. You can click here and then you can click on edit and you can edit the configuration of these gateways. In the routing, you can see the two route table. One is for the public subnet and another one is for the private subnet. Right? So this is how you create your VCN in the OCI using a wizard option. So hope you like the video. Thanks for watching.